you see so much tech in everything. Are we getting to the place where it's too much, where there's too much technology and we need less, and or you think we need more to kind of help us give us more insight and really go deeper into understanding the body?
That's a great question, and it definitely has evolved. And again, to say like there were points where we didn't use many modalities at all, if any. To prove a point, we went to a training camp in San Diego one year, and to prove a point, I had a couple of new staff members, and I said, "We're going to camp, and we're not taking any modalities with me." And they're like, "You've got to be kidding me." They're all like, look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, "Nope, we're going to rely on our hands and movement assessments. And that's all we're going to rely on." We got through a 7-day camp, had some stuff go on, but got through it fine. No issues. Everybody participated. And they're like, "Wow." So that was just, that was a long time ago. But then, obviously I've got two great devices right behind me. So it's evolved to the point where I realize, I understand there is a need, necessity. And I believe back then too. I just was trying to prove a point. So now you look at injury prevention, therapy and rehab, performance and recovery. All these different areas have different modalities. And I find it really interesting that I'm seeing a lot of devices that were really being pushed in one category now saying, "Hey, no, you can use it for this category." And it's incredible to me, because I understand from a sales standpoint, you're trying to sell the machine. So now if I can sell it in this category, I can sell it in this category. And in all honesty, yeah, there are some that you can sell, but there's also a lot like, no, that doesn't belong in that category. Just, that's not what I would use it for. You can tell me that's what I should use it for, but I'm the clinician, and I'll decide that. So I think that's where it's evolved. So do we need more, anything good or great out there? Absolutely, bring it on. But if it's just a competitor or the same device or a similar device, and another company's taking it and trying to steal that technology and market it into a different area, then I don't think that's really fair. I don't think it's just. And I think that's us as a clinician trying to, it's our responsibility to vet and decide what works and what doesn't work and what categories those belong in. And sure, you could probably sell me on a lot of things that if it's injury prevention, you could use a lot of that for recovery as well, because I think a lot of recovery is trying to reduce inflammation and reduce muscle soreness. So yeah, there's definitely some crossover, and nobody really addressed that early on because nobody really talked about recovery. Now we're talking about recovery, like, oh, maybe this works in there, and again, a lot of it sure does. But then there's a lot of them like, no, it sure doesn't. So I think there's a need, yes, for growth, but it can become too much. But again, it's our job to try to figure out what's good and what's not.
I appreciate that. Yeah, because at times I go to these different trade shows, and I just got done doing the NFL show virtually. It actually worked out really well too. I thought it was going to be a bust. I'm like, normally I go out to Indy and and you do the whole thing or whatever all week, but it was great, man. People had better questions. You had more time with people, more face to face. So yeah, I actually liked it a lot. But with that, I'm like, man, there's like 30 other vendors, where everybody's hammering away at their pitch and doing their thing and the whole song and dance. And at some point, you're like, man, is it too much tech, to where we're kind of missing that whole human aspect of like the whole therapy as well. So I can appreciate that whole response.
Yeah, and Joe, going back to one of your original questions, would I just give them the unit to use for themselves? No, there's a big personal element to it. And so it's not like, yeah, there's a lot of technology and you'll get that. They'll say, hey, you can lay them down. They can lay on this machine, and for, 20 to 30 minutes or 45 minutes, that's all you need. And you don't need, like, yeah, that's great. First of all, I probably don't have that much time, or the athlete's not going to give me that much time, but I also want to talk and feel and try to figure out what's going to make them better rather than just place them somewhere. It goes back into the old adage of just doing traditional. You come in with an injured knee, and I'm going to do a modality and ice and walk away from you and come back in 15 minutes, take you off, and next person. So that's just not the way it works anymore. But I get it. So it answers both those questions.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and you make an additional point indirectly, because there's no cookie cutter treatment for every problem or every issue. And the more that we rely just on, let's say, all these technologies, you walk into a training room or a center and it's just wall-to-wall modality and just go in and pick and choose what you want, the more it goes away from the individual, talking about the chef or the soup recipe that you've come up with, where the timing of what you use and when you use it and how long you use it goes away, where people say, well, we have Normatec here and we have pulsed energy and we have piezo and we have laser and we have cryo. What do? I don't know, just whatever one's open, go and just move next. Well, there's got to be a reason that they're being used and done in a certain way. And I think with having so much technology, maybe that goes away a little bit. So I think there's just sort of hammering home what Aaron said. Like, I think there's an importance to being able to do that and almost individualize the type of treatment that you're doing per person, not based on the injury, but it's the injury and the person and their history and the assessment and every other sort of seasoning that goes in the soup.
Well, Josh, and two, all athletes respond differently to different things. We all do. We're not even athletes. I mean, if you treat yourself, what might work on your right knee might not work on your left knee, or this modality doesn't work compared to this, and whatever that is. You made a great point when you're interviewing the UFC fighter about how would you use this for recovery, and I was thinking about that, and that is an example of, yeah, you can, because I'll use it for therapy, obviously, for all kinds of muscular and joint and issues, but can you use that for recovery? Well, again, recovery is the point of it is to kind of to get your body to recoup and feel better. And if I have soreness, whether it's in my legs or my back or my shoulders, and it's not really, I'm not doing a treatment or a therapy because it's not an issue. It's just soreness because I did too much in my job. Yes, use it and use it, because if you feel better now, the next day when you come back, you don't have some of that, or you've reduced a dramatic amount of that. Now I can perform at a high level. And again, from our working with elite athletes, I mean, that's the goal, is to see both sides of it. You want the athletes, number one, prevent all the injuries you can. Treat them when you want to treat them, but we need to recover, because if you prevent the injury and you can get them to recover, they perform better. So it's one big circle. It's one big circle. They're all intertwined together. And if all that works out well, that athlete makes a heck of a lot more money. They stay on the court or the field or whatever their sport is, and management ownership is happy. So everybody's happy if you do that the right way, but you can't just pick a piece of the pie or a piece of the circle and start siloing things and say, no, this is the only thing you can do, or you can just do this and that. You've got to look at the big picture. And I love that you had asked that question, because again, to what Joe had just asked, there's definitely an evolution and a use for certain products that meet multi-purposes, but not for all of them.